The next one we're going on. Entry of pollen tube into the ovule. Depending on the entry of pollen tube in the ovule can be classified as regarding what are three types. One is called progamy. Second one is called chalosogamy. Third one is commonly called as mesogamy. So what is the commonly called as progamy? Nothing but so what they call progamy is nothing but pollen tube is enter through micropyle, because this is called micropyle or end. That opening is commonly called as what? Micropyle. So pollen tube is enter through the micropyle is commonly called as progamy. What is the commonly called as chalosogamy is nothing but pollen tube is enter through the chalosal end, because here this is micropyle end, this is commonly called as chalosa end. So what the title is commonly called as chalosogamy. That means pollen tube is enter through the chalosogamy, through the chalosa. That is commonly called as chalosogamy. The third one is commonly called as mesogamy. What is the meaning commonly called as mesogamy is nothing but the pollen tube is enter through the integuments. This is commonly called as integuments. So the pollen tube enter through the integuments. If the pollen tube enter through the integument is commonly called as is a mesogamy. So based on entry of the pollen tube in the ovule, it must be classified as a three types, is namely called as progamy, chalosogamy, mesogamy. Progamy, entry of pollen tube through regarding what? Micropyle. Chalosogamy, entry of pollen tube through regarding what? Chalosal end or chalosa. Mesogamy is commonly called as pollen tube is entered through regarding what? Integuments. So those are commonly called as entry of pollen tube regarding what? Ovule is namely called as progamy, chalosogamy as well as regarding what? Mesogamy. The next one to be commonly called as entry of pollen tube into embryo sac. Because I'm already discussed about like this purogamy, chalosogamy and mesogamy. That means different kinds of way the pollen tube it must be enter. If it is enter any one of the way, that a pollen tube predominantly it must be enter through regarding what micropylar end. Because micropylar end it must be possessed regarding what opening. Through the end, any way it can be entered to any kinds of way in the regarding what the pollen tube. All of them it must be enter only the way is commonly called as micropyle. That's a commonly called as occur micropylar end. So, irrespective entry of regarding what the pollen tube into the embryo sac, it must be enter only the way is commonly called as micropyle. For here the entry of pollen tube in the embryo sac, all kinds of embryo or all kinds of regarding what the pollen tube, it's moved towards ovary, ovule and embryo sac, or growth of the pollen tube toward the ovary, toward the ovule, toward the embryo sac. Why it can be moved towards ovary, ovule and embryo sac mean? Because due to present some kinds of regarding what chemical substances. Due to presence of some kinds of chemical substances, the ovary, ovule and embryo sac it must be moved toward the regarding what ovule. So ovary, ovule, embryo sac it can be moved toward the regarding presence of regarding what chemical substances. Because that the pollen tube is commonly called as it is a long lengthy structure. The whole length of regarding what a pollen tube, it must be come on regarding what pollen lacules. After entry of pollen tube in enter regarding what a pollen lacule, where one of the component it must be guide pollen tube into regarding what a micropylar opening. Who's the component or who's the structure or which component to give direction about the pollen tube to regarding what embryo sac mean? The great apparatus commonly called as obturator. So obturator is a component that helps directions of pollen tube into the embryo sac. So after reach of regarding what pollen tube on the embryo sac, on the surface of pollen wall, it may be possess a small opening. The opening it must be occur tip of the pollen tube or just behind the regarding what pollen tubes. In the presence of the pollen tube content what are the components it must be occur regarding what the pollen content is nothing but two male gametes, tube nucleus, then cytoplasm. So with the help of obturator, the pollen tube is directed to move regarding what micropylar end. When reach on the regarding micropylar end, the pollen tube on the wall it may be possess a small opening. Through the opening, the pollen tube content is regarding what discharged What are the components commonly called as? Two male gametes, tubernucleus and cytoplasm. Once, according to the structural view, the pollen tube entered to regarding what micropyle. It is entered one cells of regarding what synergids. So these two is a synergids. This is nothing but egg. This is nothing but diploid nucleus. These three is commonly called as antipodal cells. So the pollen tube entered to regarding what to micropyle or end through the cells of regarding what the synergids. It's entered to regarding what pollen tube in the synergids. There, pollen tube is rupture. After rupture of pollen tubes, two male gametes are releasing, tube nucleus are releasing, cytoplasm also releasing. These two male gametes, it must be influenced regarding fertilization. The tube nucleus became regarding what? Disappear. As well as disorganizer. What is the speciality of regarding what pollen tube after entry into regarding what the micropyle end through the synergid cells mean? When the pollen tube is a rupture, after that the pollen tube cannot be regarding what to develop, because through the opening the pollen tube content or pollen tube component which is are disposed. After disposing of this component, pollen tube cannot be regarding what to develop, as well as tube nucleus became disappear or also called regarding what disorganizing. The next one be going discuss about double fertilization and triple fusion. For the structure of regarding what ovule, what are the components that must be existing? This is synergids, is the egg, polar nuclei, antipodal cells. This is micropyle, that is funicle, that is chalasa. For a triple fusion, or what even called like a double fertilization, who are that kinds of events is first observed is commonly called as S.G. Navasjin in 1898 from Lilium species, as well as L. Gagnard in 1899 from Fritillaria species. What are the two signs regarding what observations commonly called as? Because the pollen grain, it must be containing two male gametes. That two male gametes involved in the fertilization. That's why it is commonly called as what? Double fertilization. What is the meaning commonly called as what? Triple fusion mean commonly called as? Among that regarding two male gametes, there is a pollen grain. These are two male gametes. This is a pollen tube. This is tube nucleus. One male gamete feeds with the egg, because this N result is commonly called as what? 2N. 2N is nothing but regarding what? Zygote. One male gamete feeds with egg, that is commonly called as what? First fertilization. The remaining one male gamete feeds with diploid nuclei. This is commonly called as diploid nuclei. So diploid is commonly called as already is 2N. Male gamete is commonly called as what? N. So fusion correspond to regarding what? 3N. This is commonly called as triploidy. That responsible produce regarding what? Triploid endosperm. Or also known as primary endosperm nucleus. So this is responsible producing nutritive components. Nutritive components, it is essential for growing or developing embryo. So two types of fertilization, it must be occur within the male gametes, commonly called double fertilization. What they call triple fusion means? One male gametes fused with diploid or polar nuclei, that is commonly called as double fertilization. These two events are generally occur in angiosperm plants. I am already indicating at the beginning of lesson. Angiosperm plant is commonly called as what? Double fertilization types. The next one is commonly called as post fertilization changes. After fertilization, the flowering plant, what are the structural changes are generally occur in commonly called as? The first one is called embryo developments. Second one, food formation. Third one is commonly called as seed formations. These are three predominantly involving regarding what the post fertilization changes. Among them, from the whole part of the plant body, what are the components it must be occur, what are the changes after fertilization can listed to be here. First of all, plants before fertilization. Transformation after fertilization. First of all, sepals, petals, stamens, style and stigma. So sepal, petal, stamen, style and stigma. After the fertilization, what are the changes or occur is commonly called as, these are things usually withered, or it may be soon fall on. This is the first changes before fertilization, and then regarding what after fertilization. Second thing, ovary develop into fruit. Third one is a commonly called as ovule develop into seed. Fourth one, egg is a fuse with the regarding what male gametes, resulting responsible what type of changes are occur is a commonly called as, it's going on zygote. Then fifth one event is commonly called as funicle. The funicle, it can be changed out after fertilization, is commonly called as stalk of seeds. The sixth one, micropyle, is a commonly called as ovule. The micropyle of ovule, after transformation going on, micropyle of seed. That micropyle are compound that provide water as well as oxygen supply. Seventh one component is commonly called as nucellus, is transformed into regarding what? Perisperm. The eighth one, outer integument it converted to grace to produce outer seed coat. Outer seed coat is commonly called as, it is testa. The ninth one, inner integument, that is inner seed coat. That is commonly called as tegmen. Then 10th one is commonly called as synergids, became disappear. Antipodal cells became disappear. Diploid nucleus, which grace produce regarding what? Endosperm. These are things, it is responsible for the parts occur before fertilization, that kinds of parts. After the completion of fertilization, what are the changes are occur, that I am given to regarding what, listed to regarding what tabulars. For the lesson, so many kinds of compound they can be discussing. It starts from fertilization, pollen on the stigma, types of the style, pollen NT2 ovule, pollen NT2 regarding what embryo sac, and so many kinds of compound. In the lesson, what are the key points to be essential for NEET as well as one-word point of view? The first thing, receptacle became fleshy and edible. So which plant the receptacle became is converted regarding what a fleshy as well as edible? This receptacle became, it is converted to edible component. It is act as regarding what the fruits. The fruit is enclosed by regarding what the seeds. Which plant the receptacle became regarding what edible and the flesh is commonly called as? Apple. That is what the binomial name is commonly called as? Pyrus malas. The second thing, some of the plant species, calyx. Calyx is nothing but is outermost wall of regarding what a flower. Usually it is a green color. Calyx, it is persist. The calyx is not only persist, the calyx, it must be developed along with the fruits. Which plant specimen calyx it can be persist, it can be grow along with the fruits. What is the example is commonly called as? Solanum melagina. In Tamil to be say commonly called as kattiri. The third one is a commonly called as some of the plant. Calyx is the outermost wall. That calyx, it must be covered entire fruits. Which species the calyx it must be covered entire fruit is commonly called as? Physalis minima. That fruits, the calyx it must be covered regarding what? Entire fruits. Fourth one, stalk of flower. Is nothing but pedicel or rachis, or below the part of regarding what ovary is a commonly called as a pedicel or a rachis. The pedicel or rachis became swollen into pear-shaped structure. That pear-shaped structure of pedicel or rachis became is going to regarding what? Edible. What is the example commonly called as? Anacardium accidental. The fourth one is commonly called as some of the species perianth is fleshy and as well as regarding it is edible. Which plants The plant part of perion is going to regarding fleshy and edible is commonly called as example jackfruits. Then fifth one, some of the plant, the cells it must be occur surface of integument. Some of the cells it's or occur surface of integument or tip of the integument inner under the micropylar end. That cell, if it is occur a group of cell in outer integument of inner under the micropylar cells became it's a develop into fleshy structure. That structure is commonly called as crankle. Seventh one, some of the plant rachis became fleshy as well as edible. It is later that it can be became colored. That is commonly called as eril. The last one, nucellus. So nucellus, it is a nutritive tissue that providing nourishment to regarding while developing embryo. Among that regarding nucellus, some of that nutritives it is not completely utilized regarding developing embryo. A part of nucellus it is or occur storage of seeds, or which the component must be stored in the storage seed, that is commonly called as perisperm. The type of nucellus or the type of sperm or perisperm where is occur that commonly called as black pepper as well as beetroot. So for the chapter of regarding fertilization up to regarding what utilizing component, it can be discussing so many kinds of component. Please you go through the books. If you have any doubt they may be arise, it must be rectified when it can be opening on the class to be rectified it. Thank you.